Hello. So for those that don't know me, I'm Claire and I have a multi-business owner and founder of the Good Vibes Collective. I've been in network marketing now for 20 years in the community and team building sector as well. So a few areas of my businesses are shown on this slide here. In this episode, we are going to look at the power of persistence. So persistence is sticking with a task or a goal despite any obstacles or setbacks or even boredom. It's the ability to keep moving forward even if it's not exciting or glamorous. One of my favourite ways to think about persistence is that talent might get you started, but it's persistence that gets you finished. So you can have all of the skill in the world, but if you stop halfway through, it's a potential that never actually becomes a reality. And persistence isn't about never feeling like quitting either. Everyone feels that at some point. Persistence is about what you do after that feeling does show up. Do you pack up and go home, or do you keep going that little bit further? Because that little bit further is often where the breakthroughs and the successes often happen. So as you know by now, if you've been on any of my previous episodes, I do like to include a bit of science. We're going to talk about the brain again. So here you've got the amygdala. Again, I've spoken about this before, but it's part of your brain and its job is to keep you safe, and it doesn't like anything that doesn't feel comfortable. So the moment something feels a little bit difficult or risky, your amygdala is telling you to stop and scroll TikTok for a couple of hours. Your prefrontal cortex, on the other hand, that is responsible for logic and reasoning, and that's supposed to weigh up the pros and cons of a situation. And persistence is basically your prefrontal cortex overruling the amygdala. And the more you persist, the stronger those neural pathways become. So it's like building a muscle. The more you train it, the easier it is to keep going next time. And sticking with the brain a bit as well, we have an inbuilt reward system. The brain releases dopamine when you achieve something. That's the feel-good chemical. So we love a dopamine hit and we love a quick win because we get those dopamine hits. And persistence often means delaying that dopamine hit. And that's why the first few weeks of sticking to a goal can feel harder. You haven't got a dopamine reward yet. People who can tolerate delayed gratification, research has shown that they tend to achieve more over the long term because they train their brain to be okay with the wait. So an interesting fact, most people don't fail at things because they can't do it. They fail because they stop too early. And why they do that, there's a number of reasons. The first one could be because they're expecting instant results. We live in an on-demand world. You can get same-day delivery on things. You can binge watch an entire TV series. You can get dinner delivered within 15, 20 minutes. When we start something, whether it's a new fitness plan, a new business, or we're learning a new skill, your brain expects the same instant result. And in real life, that doesn't happen. The results come after the hard work. Another reason is that we compare ourselves to others. So we'll see somebody absolutely nailing something and you can often think they're clearly more talented than me. What we don't see is the 57 failed attempts or the awkward early days or times that they nearly gave up. And social media is to blame for a lot of this. Many people only post the highlights. They don't post about the struggles or the persistence it took to get where they are. Another reason is we don't zoom out and look at the bigger picture. When we don't see massive results straight away, we assume that nothing's working and we give up. And that's often just before the visible results are going to be visible. It's like planting a seed. Nothing seems to be happening at first, but under the surface, the roots are forming, so things are happening, you just can't see it. Perfectionism is another reason as well. Some people are too focused on doing something perfectly, and when that doesn't happen, they'd rather quit than keep going imperfectly. Another reason is negative feedback or lack of support. So if family and friends or colleagues don't get what it is that you're doing, or even actively discourage it, it's tempting to give in and stop. And shiny object syndrome. Shiny object syndrome is when you get distracted. So you get distracted by a new idea or a new opportunity, and you abandon the thing that you've already started before it's even had time to work. One of the biggest enemies of persistence is excuses. The tricky thing here is that most of the excuses seem perfectly reasonable. So I'm too busy, or I don't have the right equipment yet, or it didn't work before, or I don't want to bother people. The problem is that excuses give short-term escape from the discomfort that you're feeling, but it costs long-term results. You're basically pressing pause on your goals. It's like skipping the gym because it's raining, or avoiding follow-up calls because you're too afraid of rejection. Persistence is about recognizing those excuses for exactly what they are and choosing to take action anyway. So next time you find yourself making an excuse, try flipping it into a tiny action. Instead of, I haven't got an hour to do my exercise regime, say, I'll do 10 minutes. Over time, those small decisions are the things that will change everything. We often picture huge dramatic efforts when we hear the word persistence. Climbing a mountain, or starting a business from scratch, running a marathon. The truth is, persistence shows up in the smallest way every day. And these things matter just as much. So an example is learning to walk. None of us got up on our 2 feet, strolled across the living room on our first try. None of us did that. We wobbled, we fell, we landed on our bums probably hundreds of times. And babies don't quit. They don't fall down and think, walking's not for me, I'm just going to stick to crawling. They get up again and again and again until they've mastered it. Another example is learning to cook something new. Nobody's first pancake was perfect. You tweak the heat, you change the recipe, you keep going until you get it right. It can be something as unglamorous as sticking to a savings plan. So saying no to little splurges because you're focused on that holiday or that home improvement project. There's no reward for walking past the shoe sale, but it's still persistence. And the great thing is, this same persistence that you practice in everyday life, often without realising it, is exactly the skill that you can carry through into the ups and downs of other areas of your life, such as building a business. So when we look at it in terms of business, this is where lots of people trip up, not because they're not capable, but because they expect overnight success. Building a customer base isn't a one and done job. It takes repetition, it takes follow-up, and it takes consistency. You might reach out to someone and the time isn't right. You might post about a product and only get a couple of likes. It doesn't mean it's not working. It means the seed has been planted. So most sales happen after between 7 and 12 interactions. So somebody has to see your offer or message multiple times before they'll take any action. And the kicker here is that most people quit after 1 or 2 tries. Then there's the skill building side of it as well. So your first live video might be awkward. Your first customer conversation might feel really clumsy. That's absolutely normal. Persistence is showing up for the 2nd, the 3rd, the 10th time, because then you'll be learning, adapting and improving. Your 10th live video will be totally unrecognisable compared to the first. I like to think of a business like a garden. Don't chuck seeds in the soil and come back expecting it to be in full bloom tomorrow, because it won't be. You need to nurture it, you need to water it, you need to pull out the weeds, protect it from frost. Some seeds will sprout quickly, some take time, but they all need ongoing care. So if you're posting consistently, if you're following up with customers, if you're improving your skills, even when it feels like nothing's happening, trust me, there is definitely things happening. It might just be below the surface. And when they actually break through, you'll be so glad that you kept on going. Okay, so then we've got some examples of some people that you may have heard of where persistence really did play a huge part. Thomas Edison, he invented the light bulb. He made over 1,000 unsuccessful attempts before inventing a working light bulb. And when he was asked about his failures, he said, "I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. So she was rejected by 12 different publishers before it was a very small London publisher that took the chance on Harry Potter. So she went from a struggling single mum to one of the most successful authors, but she kept submitting that manuscript. She didn't stop because the first publisher had said no. Then we've got Colonel Sanders, KFC. At the age of 65, Colonel Sanders had a chicken recipe and a dream. And he was rejected over 1,000 times while he was trying to sell the recipe to restaurants. And eventually one did say yes, and KFC was born, but he kept on going. Walt Disney, he was fired from a newspaper job, believe it or not, for lacking imagination. And he had multiple business failures as well before he created Mickey Mouse and built Disneyland. But his early setbacks didn't stop him. It didn't stop him from pursuing his vision. We've then got Michael Jordan, basketball player. He was cut from his high school basketball team. And instead of quitting right then, he practiced harder and harder and harder and eventually became one of the greatest athletes of all time. And the last one I'm going to mention is Steven Spielberg. So he was rejected from film school 3 times and he persisted. He started working on small projects and eventually became one of the most celebrated directors in the world. So all of these people persisted. So let's look at how to build persistence. So the great news is persistence isn't a personality trait that you either have or you don't have. It's a skill. And like any skill, you can build on it. So if you want to get better at sticking to things, the first tip I've got for you is to start small. So don't begin with a huge life-changing challenge. Start with something achievable. So it could be posting on social media every day for a week. It could be going for a 10-minute walk every day, saving £1 a day. These small wins will train your brain to trust that when you commit to something, you'll follow it through. Another tip is to focus on the actions and not the outcome. So the easiest way to lose persistence is focusing on the end result. Because if all you see is that goal, whether it's a number on the scale, the size of your business, the money in your savings account, it can feel really overwhelming if you're not there yet, and it can actually be quite discouraging. So you don't get results by staring at them. You get results by showing up for the process and for the actions. If your goal is to get fitter, then focus on going for a daily walk, drinking an extra glass of water, making a healthy choice at lunch, not your final weight loss goal. When you focus on those tasks, you stay in control and you get those quick wins. The outcome is simply the result of consistently doing those right tasks over time. And the more you put your energy into those tasks, the more the results will take care of themselves. Set a minimum baseline goal. So a minimum baseline goal is the smallest, simplest version of your goal that you can commit to no matter what. A big threat to persistence is the all or nothing mindset. But if you've got a minimum baseline goal that keeps you in the game, even if you're on your busiest day or your most unmotivated day. So if your goal is to exercise regularly, your baseline could be walk for 5 minutes. Even if you can't manage your full workout, as long as you've walked for 5 minutes that day, you've met your minimum baseline. If your goal is to grow your business, your baseline might be to send 1 follow-up message a day, even if you can't do your full marketing plan for the day. If your goal is to read more, it could be to read 2 pages, even if you can't finish a chapter. Once you start, you'll find that you often end up doing more than that minimum, but even if you don't, you've still kept that streak alive, and that's persistence in action, really. The next tip is to track your progress. There's something incredibly motivating about seeing proof that your effort is having an impact. Even when the final goal could seem a long way off, It could be something just as simple as jotting it down in a notebook. It could be a daily checklist. It could be an app that tracks your streaks. It turns your invisible effort into visible evidence. It gives you a small win, and it gives you that dopamine hit every time you mark something as complete. And the key is to make it visual. So when you can see that you've walked 20 days in a row, or you've read 15 chapters, or you've posted consistently for a month, it's much harder to tell yourself that you're not going anywhere. The next tip is to remove distractions and temptations. Persistence does get easier when you take away those easy exits. So if you're tempted to skip your workout, lay your clothes out and put your trainers by the door the night before. If you get tempted to avoid business follow-ups, block out time in your diary and mute your notifications during that window. Make quitting harder. So it could mean deleting shopping apps if you're trying to save money. It could mean putting your phone in another room while you work. Every time you override that urge to stop, you're strengthening those neural pathways. Your brain is physically rewiring itself to make sticking with things more natural over time. And the more you practice it, the less it feels like a fight, and the more it becomes default for you. Get yourself an accountability buddy. Persistence is so much easier when you're not doing it alone. An accountability buddy is somebody who knows what you're aiming for and is willing to check in, encourage you, and most importantly, notice if you start slipping. It does work in both personal and business goals. So if you're trying to get fitter, they might be messaging you in the afternoon saying, did you get that walk in yet? If you're building a business, they could be checking in each day to see whether you've sent your follow-up messages or posted your content for the day. And the magic of this is in the psychology of it. We're naturally more likely to keep our word when somebody else knows about it. It's that little bit of social pressure combined with support as well. And it can be the push that you need when your motivation gets a little bit wobbly. Choose somebody who is positive, reliable, and ideally they should be working towards their own goals. They don't need to be the same goals, but they should be working towards some goals so you can cheer each other on. And keep the check-ins regular, and keep them as regular as works best for you. So it could be daily, it could be weekly, whatever works for you. But persistence thrives on consistency. So keep them regular. So we've got some key takeaways. The power of persistence, key takeaways. It's more than not quitting. Persistence is choosing to keep moving forward, even when the progress is slow or even invisible. Most people do quit too soon, often before they would see the results, and that's because they expect instant gratification. Recognise excuses for what they are. Persistence is about recognising those excuses and choosing to take action anyway. So next time you catch yourself making an excuse, try flipping it into a tiny action instead. Break your big goals into smaller tasks. Daily actions keep that momentum going and get the quick wins that your brain loves and that dopamine hit. Focus on the actions, not the outcome. So it's the steps that you need to take to reach your goals, not the final outcome. Get rid of the all or nothing mindset. A minimum baseline goal keeps you in the game, even if you're on your busiest or most unmotivated day. Track your progress so you can see how far you've come, and make sure it's something that you can see. Even when the end goal seems far away, you can see that progress. And use accountability. So it could be an accountability buddy, it could be a group, it could be a public commitment. It helps you show up on the days that motivation does dip. Remember, it's not the fastest or the smartest who win, it's the ones who keep going. So think about it. Life isn't a sprint, and neither is building anything that's worthwhile. You don't have to have all of the answers or be the most talented person in the room. You just have to be the one that's still moving, even when everybody else has stopped. Every small step that you take, even on the days it feels a bit slow or messy, is one step closer to where you want to be. And that's what persistence really does look like. It's showing up again and again and again until you get there. So next week, we are going to be looking and talking about the confidence gap. So the confidence gap is the space between what you're capable of and what you believe you're capable of. We'll be looking at why so many of us underestimate ourselves, or how self-doubt can hold us back, even when we have the skills that we need. And most importantly, some practical ways to close that gap. We're going to look at the science, the mindset shifts, and the small actions that build real, long-lasting confidence. So make sure you join me next week again, same time, same place, here on Zoom. And you can always catch up on YouTube too. Any questions, as always, we have my email address, my Facebook profile and Facebook page. And don't forget to check out the website too. Head over there, grab your free ebook, Mastering Your Mindset and Unlocking Your Confidence, if you haven't already. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Drop me a like and a comment. And the only thing left to say is thank you so much for joining me. I hope it has been useful, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now. Bye-bye.